It's a rare moment when you get a running shoe and immediately know that, yes, this one is special. That happened to me with the Dynafish Xiaonian, and it happened to me again with the Topo Specter 3. And these two shoes might just be two of the best running shoes of all time.
Get up, no, get moving.
Molly in a ritter, I the notion. Molly's money get to stay in motion. But now you're working wicked past the urge you're on top. Happy style plans.
Alright, this is not your typical long run Sunday, but it is still a long run. I am splitting it up between the Topo Specter 3 and the Dynafish Xiaonian. I'm gonna get back to the house some point through this run in the first half and swap out the shoes and just keep going. I'm in the Spectre 3 right now, and so far so good. I mean, I'm obviously still hurting here, but I could tell even through the pain and the exhaustion that this week has brought that this is going to be a favorite for a long time for me. There's like a gentleness to the bounce. It eases you into the rebound. It's not punchy necessarily, but elastic. Like, it has a U-shaped curve to it. It's not like a V-shaped curve where it's down and up, but this feels like it absorbs and it reflects and bounces back. Really great shoe so far.
Like a ghost, the spirit collector from the dead coast. Here comes the spectre. One like a ghost, the spirit collector from the dead coast. Here comes the spectre. One like a ghost, the spirit collector from the dead coast. Here comes the spectre. One like a ghost, the spirit collector.
You know what the foam in the Spectre 3 feels like? Almost like a basketball. It's like this hard but somehow hollow, like resonant bounce that has like it's not like a pinginess, but it's like it's collapsing while it's maintaining rigidity. Feels like a basketball a little bit, or even maybe a tennis ball. It's very nice.
From the dead coast, here comes the spectre.
16 miles, 8:57 pace. That was one of the best feeling runs I've done in weeks. I love these shoes. They're so good. I'm excited to go back-to-back with these and the Xiaonian. This is even more back-to-back that I'll be testing them than I normally do on double days, because I'm just like literally going to go inside, grab some water, switch the shoes, and then get back out for the last 4 or so. So I'm still going to get 20 miles in today. I feel great. I feel actually like I could run again. I mean, this has happened every other day. So some days it doesn't feel like this and I still feel terrible, but I think I'm having now more good days with my leg than bad. Nothing is linear in life. These things are not linear. I am recovering. But what the lesson so far today is that the Topo Specter 3, you could just run in it forever. Like, I felt like I should just continue out the 20 in this and not even do the double day test with the Xiaonian, but I'm actually just too curious to see how they compare, because frankly, like, I know I'm hyping this up and it is still early days in this shoe. I only have some like 30 something miles in this so far, which for three days of testing is actually not too bad, but I don't want to say anything too definitive until I get into the Xiaonian and maybe get a few more miles in this throughout next week. But this is already shaping up to be one of the best shoes that I've ever run in, period. Like competitive with the Xiaonian, competitive with the Red Hare 9 Ultra, competitive with the Mega Blast in a way that it's better to me than the Mega Blast, but I had issues with that shoe, like specific issues with that shoe. I'm loving this. I'm loving it. The rocker is beautiful. The foam is probably the best part about the shoe. It's just such a fantastic compound, and it feels like both cradling and soft and impact protective, as well as bouncy and energetic and fun. And the thing that I'm expecting to discover in just a few minutes here is that I'm guessing that the Xiaonian still feels faster. I think that this might feel more fun underfoot, especially more fun than the 350 plus mile Dynafish Xiaonian. That's not going to be an energetic feeling foam anymore, and I'm going to try to judge it as best as I can on its merits that I remember it for, and not so much for the current state of the foam, because any foam, especially a supercritical TPEE, is going to have compressed by the time it hits 350 miles. So that's going to be the challenge of doing this comparison, of course. But I do think that, with the Xiaonian being a little bit lighter, it probably still will feel a little bit quicker. And I think the rocker in that might be slightly more to my preference than the rocker in the Spectre 3, even though I love this rocker. Like, this rocker is fantastic. It's just that there is still some of that sensation where I can't get the fullest toe off sometimes. Like, most of the time I'm getting a full toe off with this shoe, especially the faster I get. But if I'm going too slow and I try to really propel with my calves, I'm not necessarily getting it. I'm kind of trying to do it right now. I don't know if you could tell with me bouncing around, but it's hard to describe the sensation that I'm just trying to describe. But all in all, it's a rare sensation too in this shoe, but I still notice it intermittently on all of the runs that I've been on in this so far. But this is, surprisingly pretty stable. It's not going to be the most stable shoe in the world, but if you run in a lot of unstable shoes, this isn't going to be a shock to the system for you. Like, if you've run in the Red Hare 9 Ultra, you'll get along fine with this. If you've run in the Evo SL or the 361 Miro SL, you'll get along fine with this. It's a little bit more stable than those, but still on the unstable side. All right, I'm going to get water. I don't want to lose my buzz here, and we'll get back to it.
Welcome at the Church of the Holy Long Run.
Okay, my brain is zinging with observations right now. First of which is that the Xiaonian, every time I put it on my feet, is so much lighter than other shoes. And I've been running in a lot of daily trainers lately, so that's super pronounced for me. So, because most daily trainers are much heavier than 200 grams. This is racing shoe weight. So of course it's going to feel lighter, but it's not a racing shoe. It's a trainer. And it weighs 200 grams. So that's always an incredible thing. The second thing, it's a major difference that I wasn't quite expecting how pronounced it would be, is this is so much firmer. Now, I do think that's a component of that is the compression of the foam over time, because this is a very old shoe at this point. So it's also not anywhere near as bouncy as the Spectre 3 right now, and I don't know if it ever was. I do think, to my memory, the Spectre 3 probably will always be bouncier than even a brand new Xiaonian, but it'll probably be a bit closer between the newer and the whatever. I'm losing my train of thought. Another thing that I am noticing is the rocker in this. I do kind of vibe with a little bit better. I think it's a really tough comparison because the rocker in the Spectre 3 is phenomenal. This is just maybe the best rocker profile or overall geometric profile of a running shoe ever created. That's where the Dynafish, in my opinion, is completely dominant. So it would be really tough to unseat this shoe in that category. But I do think they're both very geometrically sound shoes. The final observation is that, again, this is at 350 miles, running miles, but somehow the Topo Specter 3 still feels taller than the Xiaonian, despite being 2 millimeters or more shorter than the Xiaonian. I don't know if that's because this is lighter feeling underfoot or simply it is a result of the compression of the foam. But yeah, the Spectre feels much more robust underfoot. And a bit heavier though. That's the trade-off that you're making. Alright, and we finished it out with another 4 at an 8:43 pace. This has been a great day of running. The Xiaonian are certainly old at this point. It's definitely a worn shoe. But there's still a magic to it. There's a magic to the rocker and the lightweightness of this that still make it, despite the completely compressed foam, it's still very runnable, very enjoyable to run in. And the final observation I had between this and the Topo was the stability is better in the Xiaonian, and I basically have these untied. Like, I have not tied these tightly in a very long time. They're just so conformed to my feet that I'm able to slide them on. I like slip them on before leaving. And somehow, even though they're kind of flopping around a little bit, A, it doesn't bother me, and B, somehow it's still more stable. That's probably partially due to the more compressed foam. That's got to be a part of it, but man, both are fantastic shoes. Both are some of the best shoes I've ever run in, easily. Like, top 2, potentially. Top 3, maybe. The Red Hair 9 Ultra is in the mix for that as well. And then there's some carbons, like the Fast R3. It's its own little category. I guess, like, when I say the best shoes that I've ever run in, I'm only ever really referring to daily trainers or shoes that I would use for daily training, because there's some great carbons out there, like the Xiaonian Plaid 3. Absolutely love that shoe. Phenomenal shoe, in fact. But, you know, I don't know if I'd consider it one of the best shoes of all time. Same with the Fast R3. It's like, sure, it's one of the best racing shoes of all time, but when you talk about shoes for shoes' sake, like, you get so little use out of a racing shoe compared to your daily trainers, so few miles in them compared to your daily trainers, that it's hard to call it like the best running shoe of all time. And then there's something like the Streak Fly 2, which might be the best running shoe of all time, and you get almost no mileage out of that. My criteria for greatness is highly dependent on the situation, but what is known to me about the Dynafish Xiaonian and the Topo Specter 3 is that they're both some of the best running shoes of all time. And with that, back to the studio. Yeah, buddy, I love you. Yeah, it's looking time. Do you want to go outside? Stride. Do you want to go outside? Jump. Let's go. And we're back in the studio with the Dynafish Xiaonian and the Topo Specter 3. Now, I'm going to give you a quick overview of the run. This was not a double day like I do normally for testing shoes. I actually tested these back-to-back within the course of one run. How is that different than a double day? Well, I just hot swapped the shoes in the middle of the run instead of like having a whole midday, working time. This was all done in one block. All I did was come back to the house, grab water, and switch into the Xiaonian. So the original intention for the run was actually to go something more like 13-7 or 14-6, but I was having such a blast in the Spectre 3 that I decided to go 16-4 because I know the Xiaonian really well. I've run 350 plus miles in it, and it's a good old friend to me at this point, and the Spectre 3 is the newer of the two shoes, so I wanted to give it a little bit more miles. And while I was out on the run, I just didn't want to stop running in this. Part of that is that I'm starting to feel healthy, my legs are recovering, and this was evidence of that. This run was one of the best runs I've been on in the past couple of weeks. So I didn't really want to stop and switch shoes because that could have in some way risked me. I don't know. I had it in my head that it would be a risk to the run going south. Doesn't make any sense, but when you're, 16 miles into a long run with so far no water on a summer day, maybe your brain gets a little fried. We're going to follow a little bit of a structure in the comparison between these two shoes because I do think they have a lot of similarities and it warrants going over some of the more technical things so you know what the difference is between the two. First, we'll start with specs and materials. These are spec'd super similarly, honestly. They're different foams. That's going to be the biggest difference between the two. But the specs are as follows. You have 3934 in the Specter for a 5mm drop, and it's 4134 in the Dynafish for a 7mm drop. So they both have the same forefoot height. There's a little bit more in the heel in the Dynafish. Neither of them have a plate. The Specter weighs 229 grams in a size 9.5, so it'd be even a little bit heavier in a size 10, where the Dynafish in a size 10 weighs 200 grams. The foams, like I mentioned, are different. Dynafish has TPEE, Specter 3 has ATPU, and we're going to get into what that feels like on the ride section. Dynafish has CPU outsole, Specter has rubber. The Dynafish is gusseted, Specter is not. Neither of them have a plate, and the price for the Dynafish varies greatly. Seriously varies from somewhere around like 90 all the way up to 150 depending on where you're buying it from. You really shouldn't be paying 150. You could get this for 130 from various places. Meanwhile, the Specter 3 is $170. To me, that price gap signifies the difference between the Chinese market and the Western market, and it doesn't really reflect that big of a performance gap. It's just a matter of where the shoe is coming from and the companies that are making the shoe. Now, talking about the fit, I'll keep this brief because I think there's a pretty clear delineation between the two. I have the Dynafish in a size 10. That's what I get most of my running shoes in. And I think that that's perfect for the Xiaonian. I wouldn't go down half a size. I would go true to your size, whatever works for you in most shoes. Get that size in the Dynafish. The Specter 3, because of Topo's wide toe box, and because of the way that shoes fit my feet particularly, I was able to get away with a 9.5, and I'm glad that I did. So far, this has been one of the best fitting shoes that I've ever worn. It just conforms to my foot perfectly. I have the exact right amount of room in the forefoot, and there's the right amount of room in front of my toes as well, which is something I do generally struggle with. Meanwhile, the Topo fits beautifully in a 9.5, and it has the exact right amount of room in the forefoot width-wise and lengthwise, and I think that that's something that, since I do go up from a 9.5 to a 10 in most shoes now, most of my shoes are fitting a little bit long, but that gives me enough room in the forefoot width-wise. But if all shoes fit like the Specter 3, I would be able to wear a 9.5 in all shoes. I think that Topo does a great job with their wider toe box, and I think it could fix a lot of the fit issues that I have industry-wide, and I really love the way that this fits. I think the Xiaonian fits also really well. I haven't tied this shoe in a long time. It sort of just stayed like this for several runs. I don't know the last time I untied this and retied it. And it's just conformed to my foot. And it's almost even loose on my foot, and I could still run in it the same as any other shoe. So it's weird, but they both fit really well, just in different sizes. Now, here comes the fun stuff, the ride. The ride on these two shoes is similar in one way. The rocker profile, I think that they both have this floaty boaty characteristic that lulls you into this rhythmic, repetitive, easy turnover, just going endlessly, this endless running sensation that happens with rockered shoes. I think that both of these do that exact thing phenomenally. I think Dynafish does it a little bit better. I still think that this is the best rocker ever created on a shoe. Like, geometrically, the shape of the Xiaonian is perfect, and I wouldn't change a thing with that. And I think the Specter 3 comes very close to that level of perfection in the rocker profile. Like I've mentioned in the earlier segments of this video, I do think that occasionally I have a sensation in the Specter 3 that doesn't allow me to fully extend my calves, which tells me that maybe the rocker is slightly too gradual, or there's some sort of maybe lack of runway. And maybe if I had gotten the Spectre 3 in a 10, that would have changed the amount of like calf extension that I'm able to get off of the shoe, but that would have been much too big of a shoe, right? I'm not exactly sure what it is, and it's not as common that this is happening as it is in something like the Evo SL or in the 361 Miro SL. For me, both of those shoes, I've had much more of the calf can't fully, extend and launch myself forward. But it did occur a couple of times in the Spectre 3 throughout the course of the 3 runs that I've done in it so far. So geometrically, I don't think it rises to quite the height as the Xiaonian, but it is so freaking close between these two geometrically. Comfort-wise, I think the Spectre 3 is more comfortable, and that's due to a softer foam. I think that they're both comfortable, right? But the amount of softness and, like, puddinginess in the step-in of the Spectre 3, it gives it a much more relaxed, gooey, welcoming sensation compared to the Xiaonian's relatively more aggressive feeling foam. Now, of course, this isn't the most aggressive feeling foam in the world either, but I think it's a bit snappier, even maybe a bit punchier and quicker to turn over than the Spectre 3, but I would also say that it's a little less bouncy than the Spectre 3. So we're now getting into the realm of which one is bouncier, which one feels faster, and all of the really good stuff in a running shoe that we look for when we test running shoes. I think that the Spectre 3 is the bouncier shoe, and not by a giant margin, but for sure somewhere in between the Xiaonian and the Mega Blast for bounce, right? And that's high praise. This is a bouncy shoe for a daily trainer, and it might rise to the level of some super shoes in terms of its bounce, though probably it would be like at the bottom of the list for bounciness for any super shoe. But for trainers, it's one of the bouncier daily trainers slash, if we want to call these super trainers, which they definitely are, it's one of the, if not the bounciest in the category, or up there with the Mega Blast. Probably not quite as bouncy as the Li-Ning Red Hair 9 Ultra, but that's like hilariously bouncy in its own category with its own triple layer Piba bounce. And this is for sure in the conversation though for bounciness. Meanwhile, the Xiaonian is stripped down. It's like a Porsche Carrera with all of the seats taken out, and the Topo Specter 3 is like a stock 911, if that makes sense. I don't know. I don't know cars very well, but this feels like a race car that is built on a minimal chassis, and this feels like a race car that you could also get groceries in if you had to, or not even if you had to. I think that you could just get groceries in the Topo Specter 3, and you could definitely do that in the Dynafish too. I mean, I've run so many miles in the Dynafish, but like if we were to frame it this way, if we were looking at these as potential marathon shoes for people that do not want a carbon plate, I think that if you were shooting for a PR and you wanted the fastest non-plated shoe for your race and you didn't care about stack height regulation, Dynafish Xiaonian, no brainer. If you wanted one that you knew you were going to be comfortable for the 26.2 no matter what and doesn't compromise too much on speed, Topo Specter 3, no brainer. I think that they're both really in the same conversation, and they both do so much so well that they truly are two of the best running shoes that I've ever tested. Potentially the two best running shoes that I've ever tested. They're that good. Obviously, I need to get more miles in the Spectre 3 before making such bold claims, but sometimes you just know. It's like love at first sight. I had a hunch going into like hearing about the news surrounding the Spectre 3 that I would be really enjoying this shoe, and then on the first run, I loved it despite being in pain. And today it just like drove home how much I really, really like this shoe. I think it's incredible. I think that where it falls down compared to the Xiaonian is the top end. The Xiaonian does feel faster, and that's got to be due to the lightweightness and the slightly snappier and more direct feeling foam. But this is no slouch either. And, you know, I need fresher legs to put this to some serious pace. I got it down to about 7-minute pace today, which, believe me, in the last month, that's probably the fastest pace that I've seen on my watch, period. And it felt great going that speed. But what the issue or the thing that I'm not totally confident in the Spectre 3 for really top end speeds is so far as there's this sort of like blobby, jello-y, like gooiness to it that feels sort of like, I mean, it feels like an ATPU. It feels like the FF Leap and the uh Edge Tokyo, where it's like it like blobs outwards, sort of like a, if you watched a slow motion of a water balloon dropping onto the ground, right? And not the popping part of the water balloon, but like you watch the water balloon hit the ground and like outwards. That's sort of the feeling that I'm getting under this at the top end, that I don't really know if it would carry enough of a like quick speed outwards to like rebound you outwards. I think I was saying during the run that the compression curve feels like in the Spectre 3 a U shape instead of a V shape, where like the Mega Blast, for example, feels like a linear actuation. It's douche, douche, a V shape curve. Whereas this foam, the red foam in the Spectre 3, feels like it goes brrr, brrr. You know what I mean? I hope you know what I mean, because that's a pretty weird description. And the Xiaonian feels much more direct and linear. And today especially, I mean, it felt like a doo because the foam is really dead. And even a dead foam Xiaonian is better than like any real EVA shoe and a lot of these other newer shoes that I've tested recently. Like this is still, don't get me wrong, like even, you know, 350 plus miles in the Xiaonian, it still feels more lively than a lot of shoes on the market. But I think that's another like difference between the two that gives the Xiaonian the edge in the speed department. But the Spectre 3 is more comfortable on foot. It's more comfortable lacing up. The upper is more padded. The upper is incredible. I mean, really, the comfort and the fit of the Spectre 3 is just spot on. And also the ability to get a lockdown. Like I never had to retie this. I've never had to retie this. I've tied it. And both of the times, or all three of the times that I've laced up the Spectre 3 now, I just laced it up and it immediately worked. I didn't have to fiddle with the laces or anything. I just sort of tied it and started running and it was completely fine. So that's crazy good for the Spectre 3 and just the easiness to get along with the upper. I think the drawback to the Spectre 3 again is the weight, right? The weight is not bad. I mean, it's a great weight. It's 229 grams for a size 9.5 for a full stack shoe. Like that's what old racing shoes used to weigh. This weighs basically what an Alpha Fly weighs at the same stack height with even more forefoot foam, right? So it's we're splitting hairs here on the differences between the two and the comparison between the two because they're both just incredible shoes. But you could feel, so I went from the Spectre 3 directly into the Xiaonian, and you could feel the weight difference on foot. I mean, the Xiaonian is just that freaking light. It is so light, and that's what makes it such an astounding and special and truly incredible shoe. So we have two truly incredible shoes here, and I'm gushing over them. There's no real downside to either of them, in my opinion. Like, the laces are bad in the Xiaonian, sure. And maybe the top end isn't completely there for the Spectre 3, but more testing is required. So, like, really, I'm having a hard time finding you something negative to say. I think that the Xiaonian maybe is a little bit more stable than the Spectre 3 as well, but, like, again, I'm splitting hairs here. It's pretty close between the two. So, quick note about price. These are pretty different in price, despite what I believe to be very similar level of performance. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, it really is just reflective of the Chinese market versus the Western market. And in context of those individual markets, I would say both are a very fair price. I think the 170, it's high. It's expensive for a running shoe. It's a running shoe. We shouldn't be charging $170 for a running shoe. But in the market that it is competing within, the Topo Specter 3 being priced at 170 is objectively, for what it is able to accomplish as a shoe, a good deal. In my opinion. This is my opinion. I think that it's a very good deal at 170. I would like to see it cost less. I like to see everything cost less. I would even like to see the Dynafish cost less because I don't want to spend money. I'm buying most, if not all, of these running shoes. I think I've been given 3 running shoes by the brands ever. And so, like, I'm buying these shoes. You know what I mean? I want them to cost less. But 170 in the Western market for a full ATPU super trainer that outperforms basically every other running shoe that I've ever run in, like, it's a good deal. It's just a good deal. Now, the Dynafish Xiaonian and a lot of these Chinese running shoes are pretty special. 100 and something bucks for the Xiaonian. I think when I got this for like 110 out the door, something like that, because it is expensive to ship to the United States. That's the thing. Like, you could pick up the Xiaonian for cheaper retail, right? I don't know what the exact price is right now retail, but it's probably around 80 bucks retail if I had to guess. And then getting it to the US is what's costly, and I'm pretty sure I paid a total of 110 for this or whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's cheaper to buy Chinese running shoes. We all know that, and that's why a lot of reviewers like myself are testing Chinese running shoes. Do I think there's a $60 gap in performance here? No, I don't. I think the Dynafish performs differently in certain areas than the Spectre 3, but I think they're very similar in their use case and very similar in their quality and their build quality and in how much I like them. So there's a price difference. The price difference doesn't make sense on a literal level, but if you take the individual markets that these two shoes exist within, it makes a ton of sense, right? So that's just my quick diatribe on price. The final thing we need to talk about is, who are these shoes for? I think they're for the same people, and that person is somebody that wants a super trainer that could do absolutely everything. So that's the first thing. And a person that wants a super trainer or a shoe that is not plated to run long distance races in. So an option for the marathon or for the half marathon, pretty much mostly for the marathon, or even for road ultras that can race, that is fast enough to race in, that does not have a plate. So I think that's another really great use case for either of these two shoes. And finally, somebody that wants a daily trainer who does not have particular stability needs that is better than all of the other daily trainers, right? I think both of these shoes, as far as daily trainers are concerned, like, they're super trainers for sure. But if you wanted a shoe to run all of your miles in, either of these are better than everything else, in my opinion. Like I wouldn't want to, I basically only want to run in the Spectre 3 now. And I just got the 361 Miro SL, which is also a great shoe. I don't care about it anymore. I only want to run in the Topo Specter 3. That's how good it is, right? And that's how I felt about the Xiaonian when I first got it. So if you want to run all your miles in one shoe, or if you are looking for an alternative to a carbon, either of these are great options. Okay. And with that, I appreciate all of your attention to the comparison between the Dynafish Xiaonian and the Topo Specter 3. And as always, stay in motion. Okay, if you're still with me, I want to give you a little insight into some shoes that I have coming up for testing. The Douyin Aries Max, I believe is what this is called. This is one of the most requested shoes that I got for when I did the last news cycle. People were recommending this thoroughly. It's pretty light in hand. It's very stacked. It looks like a Kraken racing shoe, and I'm excited to test it. I also have the Xiaodan Wind SL, or it's on the shoe itself. It says free something I can't pronounce, free. So the big issue with this, I'm going to mention this right now, is that these two shoes, the same shoes, have completely different foam in either shoe. So this is rock solid, and this is pretty soft. This is not a good sign, guys. Just so you know, I am not looking forward to testing these because of how radically different the foam feels just touching it. So hopefully it's not that noticeable on the run. I was pretty excited to test these. This was another very requested shoe. So stay tuned for that review, but just know that there might be a major flaw with these shoes. And finally, I have the X-Step 160 X 3.5 Pro. I hope I got that name right. In the exploding SpongeBob colorway. I got this because Jogon Krego swears by it. And I just wanted to see. It was pretty cheap. I wanted to see what it was like. It's very heavy for a racing shoe, even in hand, but it looks mad cool. So I'm looking forward to testing it. All right, get out of here.